back with episode 26 of Zed Daily. I have King Trippy from Trippy Racing with us today. How you doing, sir?
Going on?
Not much, man. Just
All right.
enjoying the day, getting a little bit of Fibonacci Cup racing in. So we were talking a little bit before stream about how you were doing in the Fibonacci Cup. Do you want to tell us what happened this morning?
Yeah, I had eight horses enter, and only one remained. And my favorite RSB got trounced. So tail between the legs, trying to recoup and go from there.
Gotcha, man. So let's go back before Zed Run a little bit. I want to talk about your journey into crypto. What was that story like?
Um, so I've been in crypto full time since July of 2020. So I've been a financial advisor, trader, investment manager for since 2009, so 12 years now. Did that for kind of the super high net worth family office sort of kind of marketplace. Did that, and then going into the pandemic. There was a brutal drawdown, and we had a 40% drawdown on the market, and it was kind of pandemonium. And kind of as things were settling on the way back up, I had a huge conviction just around digital assets, around Bitcoin specifically as a store of value. Sort of seeing what's going on with the stimulus and the shutdown, and then just how much we interact digitally versus physically. Like I feel like the pandemic just kind of nailed that head and brought forward a lot of change that probably was inevitable, but just brought it forward like 10 years. So like it's hard to overvalue sort of how how crazy of an event that was, and it's continuing to ripple out, right? Like you're seeing people, like I think the lowest amount of people or the highest turnout of people quitting their jobs, ever, and it's all built around, in my opinion, just this new ownership economy and people, basically creating their own brands or being part of this whole Web3 revolution. So I got involved July 2020. I was a partner in a multi-billion-dollar RA, and sold my equity and invested in crypto, and I've been sort of managing my own book since then. And yeah, I got into NFTs kind of around March, and joined the Bored Ape crew around late May, and just been riding the wave ever since.
What was the appeal to the Bored Ape Yacht Club? Like, did you buy any other NFTs before that one, and what made that one stick out to you?
Like I like to think that I try to stay a step ahead of things, and I'm always constantly kind of asking what's next, in the thought process. And to me, this is, and sort of the reason why I ultimately left my prior firm was, like I'm very big on being able to explore my like intellectual curiosity and to be able to kind of go down rabbit holes. And I couldn't do that kind of with Bitcoin, and so that sort of kind of started this whole chain reaction. But like with NFTs, my first entry was sort of metaverse. Like I think anybody that's played video games or Fortnite or experience skins can see just that whole marketplace, be present, but not really have a core economic system behind it, I guess. And so from that point of view, I bought the central land, I think in December-ish, and started. I think I bought my first sandbox. I bought a 6x6, I think, in February. Nice. And sort of came in through that portal, and I bought a CryptoPunk, I think in March, flipped it for like, I think it was like 14 ETH, or like at the time, which ETH was a lot lower, but it was like, I was hooked, especially after trading. I spent a year kind of yield farming and just battling people every day for yield, and just the NFT flipping trading sort of thing is that's my bread and butter. So that's kind of how I entered it, and just kind of within that, and even through like the metaverse experience, and especially Sandbox, just there's a huge difference in terms of just the attitude of the communities, and people are very much willing to help. You have questions, people will help you. Whereas like in DeFi, it's like very zero sum, cutthroat, right? Like it's I'm trying to get this yield, or I'm trying to outsmart you, and it's very disarming, and it was like refreshing, and so kind of seeing that a little bit through through communities like Sushi Swap early on, and all the others, but especially just broadly within NFTs, I yeah. So long story short, kind of seeing punks, and I think Hash Masks was the first project I minted, and then just I jumped in Bored Ape kind of right around. I didn't mint. I think the floor was like 0.5, 0.6, and I'm very much all buy a few and kind of test it out. And as soon as I jumped in, just the community was awesome, and just so much fun, and people that that I enjoyed hanging out with, and it sort of just compounded from there. And like I always say, that's been a great filter for me in terms of what NFTs to buy is. To me, they're just sort of they're membership tokens in the communities, and it's less about the art. And to be honest, I've gotten in trouble more kind of betting on art, and even like some of the art block stuff, which is untouchable months ago, has gotten hammered at the expense of PFPs and communities. So so long story short, being inside the Bored Ape community early on was like, it felt different, and it felt like something was building. So it was just pretty fun.
Being in these communities for that long, when the price runs up and they have these crazy run-ups, knowing that the community is solid, does that like give you conviction to hold and not like flip your ape for a bunch of profit and walk out of the community?
I mean, I owned like 15, 16 apes, and I only own 3 now.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
yeah, like I'm also a trader, and that's the way that I can't, like, I have to sell on the way up just to stay in the game. Like otherwise, it's just so much. Like I think 3-4 months ago, especially today, it's very easy. Like, oh yeah, you should have held, but it's if somebody took a baseball bat and hit me over the head, like, it would have been the best thing that could happen to me, because I couldn't look at screens. But so I sold on the way up, and I sold a big one that ultimately I sold a Blue Beams that paid for my Zed Run stable. So to me, like, that was sort of the way that I justified selling stuff is if I can sell an ape and then reinvest it in something over here that I know is going to do well. And I've been pretty good at finding kind of the next thing. But like everybody else, it's all the apes, or everybody, even early on and back in May, June, there's so many projects popping up, and everybody wants to take ETH from here and throw it in all these other places, when it's just, you're better off kind of blocking and focusing on the the original communities.
So making these sales, you go to Thanksgiving. What are some of these Thanksgiving conversations that people are like? How do you tell your friends and family that you sold a picture of a monkey for X amount of dollars?
I mean, I've been doing the whole crypto conversation for at least like a year and a half. So it's like, people already know that if they're hanging out with me, they're going to hear something about it, or there's curiosity, and just in general, whether it's stocks or like just markets in general, I enjoy talking about it. So I hope it's not uncomfortable for other people. But yeah, like I think NFTs are probably the harder one. Like I can talk to boomers about DeFi and can explain that and understand it. But my dad it's just so funny talking to him. But like, he was back in New York in the 60s and 70s, and so like he gets the art side of it, but just the Bored Ape community, it's so fun to him. But they I think the longer these brands stick around, and I think they're going to be very they're going to be long lasting, and the more big companies, you've seen Adidas, like you've seen tons of these companies that are trying to market to Gen Z, and this whole group of people that they've historically had trouble accessing, right? And there are tons of brands trying to get in, and the ones that are early adopting, I think, are going to be well served. I mean, look at like the Bored Ape community as an example, but all NFT communities. If one brand jumps on with Bored Apes, like, everyone's going to go buy Adidas now. Like it's just kind of what the community does. So in terms of return on investment, I think boardrooms are finally starting to take notice.
100% agree, because Zed Run, they got the Stella Artois, And I've honestly never seen anybody drink a Stella Artois, and I would never personally think of drinking one. But now that they have the partnership, I'm like, I got a horse in this game. You know what? I might get one time. But I want to go on to what you said. You said you sold an ape, and then you bought into a Zed Run. You bought your Zed Run stable from there. Had you been eyeing Zed Run for a
top ticked
while?
probably. I think I top ticked the Z1
Ooh.
Genesis market, but yeah, like I think at the time too, it was like this was probably was it August? Maybe right around August. So like it was a very good time to sell the ape too, but like everything else that was the peak before that in sort of all NFTs. So the breeding market was going really strong, and um, in terms of play to earn options, which I know was going to be kind of what it is today, in terms of the whole boom around post meta announcement from Facebook, like all the stuff that I've owned for 8 months. That I sold probably four biggest states in the Central Land to get liquidity for other stuff, like right before that announcement. That was just it was brutal, but yeah. So I was able to sell that, and so I think I tweeted, as soon as I did, I was like 100 ETH to spend. Kind of what do you buy? And I'm a big believer in crowdsourcing information. That's part of why this whole community is cool. It's if I can have 10,000 people telling me what they want to invest 100 ETH in, I feel like I can find the next thing better. And in the back of my mind, I've always looked at Zed Run. It's been a great it's early community, and I've always had an interest. It's been very complex to jump in to try to learn the ins and outs. And a guy by the name of Steve Brew, who's an ape, was one of those replies, and he's like, do you have time? Do you have 10 minutes? I'm like, yeah. And the kid honestly gave me probably one of the best pitches I've ever heard. And like, I've heard a lot of pitches from 12 years in investing. So he sold me, and when I get bullish on something and I tend to ape pretty hard. And so I think the first one was Buttery, was a mare, and then RSB was unraced. Maybe unraced, or maybe had 10 races, but it was a good bet at the time, and it turned out with those. And I've been very fortunate too with all the horses I've gotten that have been unraced, have turned around, and I've been lucky for sure.
Now,
but I paid for that luck, that's for sure.
Were you going about more of a racing stable or a breeding stable, trying to acquire colts, fillies? What was your thought process?
Purely racing, and yeah, just seeing like the way for this game to to sort of progress had to be built on racing, and this was before the tournaments. This was before kind of that that bet has been a good one, at least within Zed. The breeding market's just been getting trashed, and kind of when I came in too, that was like, I think I got one cycle in when they were, I think Z2 Legendaries were going for like 1 ETH, even almost at the time. So it's a lot more challenging, but I think as people come into the game more, and as they get more partnerships, and as they tighten up a lot of things that the game needs to tighten up, like I think it'll all come back around.
In total,
but it was racing.
How much horses do you have in your stable?
I wrote it down just because I wasn't going to be able to answer it beforehand. 17 now, but 8 core Z1 Genesis Nakamoto's, and a rare coat that's a non-racing Z1 that I'm trying to sell right now if anybody wants to buy, and a 7 unraced, unbred, unnamed, kind of just sitting there too. So, but I got a good core staple that's with RSB, and in terms of being the stud, and a couple other good ones. It's a solid foundation for sure.
How do you go about racing these horses for the tournament? Do you do these all yourself? And is it a pain in the ass, to be honest, to have to sit there and click all these horses, or do you have other people come in and do it for you?
Yes, currently it's very manual, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, there'll be some news about some things that we're doing behind the scenes too. But if not me, then I need to be paying somebody to do this, because it's very time consuming, and I'm certainly not the best operator in the game, and there are others that I know are significantly better than me, and my time's better served kind of going and managing this, but going to find the next Zed too, and yeah, and so if you're a stable owner, if you're a good racer, kind of holler at me because I'm looking to build a team out.
Awesome. So what was the racing environment like when you joined compared to now? Like, what did you have? Was there no fatigue back when you joined? Was there odds? How'd the landscape look?
So I just came in right as odds were taken away. So I kind of missed that whole aspect of the game, which I think at the time was a pretty big change. And I'm still trying to figure out really flames in general and their predictive value. But because even today or just in the tournaments, it seems like are a lot of horses that flame that don't actually make it through. But yeah, so it was right around that time. I think odds just eliminated, so flames were just introduced. This was pre-tournaments, so mostly just cash races. And thanks to kind of like everything else in the NFT communities, Ryan was a huge help, and that I know your horses, just being a fantastic liaison to other stables and helping me personally just understand the game. There are a couple Z1s. There are two that I co-own with another guy that's kind of outside the crypto community, but he's been a good client for a while. But and speaking to a couple others, but Steve Brew was great. He introduced me, and I know he's got a few horses, and then Ryan has been big.
Gotcha. Yeah, Steve Brew. He actually sold me my first horse, unraced, unnamed. Z2 Legendary. I think, like you were saying, I came in August. Floor on Z2 Stallions or Colts was like 1.1 or something like that.
And like the numbers at that time were, and like everything else, like in hindsight, it's like, of course, money is going to flow in and there's going to be tons of supply because like the numbers were stupid. And, like the payback period on, like it's going to come back around too. And I'll get into sort of why I think that in a little, but yeah, at the time, just from the cash flow standpoint, which to back up at the time in August, it was just PFP overload, like heat, like everything was going up. And, I'm a contrarian a bit at heart, which gets me in trouble in crypto. But so for me to be able to sell that and to put it into a income, a productive asset like Zed, to be able to breed and to do that, right? And, part of what people don't properly appreciate is just the wealth creation from Bored Apes of the floor going up, but just being dropped all these things constantly. It's like special dividends in owning stocks, and from the dogs to to the mutant serums to all these individual things that have monetized it. Like that would basically have been announced as soon as the mutants had dropped that there was going to be no more of those sort of huge events. So to me, it was how do I earn a better yield on my investment, and it was an overwhelming choice to do Zed, which I'm still very bullish on.
Awesome, man. So like did you sell your mutant apes and all that stuff that you're getting airdropped just to quick flip them?
Not necessarily quick flip. Like I always have to, and even today, like I struggle just sitting on ETH because I'm just so bullish on the space, and there's always just new, like my new. Like the new thing I'm researching or into is just the sort of AI game aspects like ASM or Ultra State Machine and some of these others in terms of like bringing your NFTs to life is sort of something that's super fascinating to me, and I'm looking at. So it's like this thing of always wanting to find the next thing, and so any ETH I get from sales, I'm always looking for things to sell when I shouldn't be, and so yes, but kind of within Zed too, I have a ton of capital tied up, and so it speaks to my just general bullishness on play to earn, and this. But I think I veered off the question. But what was the question again?
It's all I do it all the time too, man. It's all good. I don't even see. I'll ask a question sometimes and I'll forget, and I'll be like, oh shit. So it's all good. But you did say that the bull run was gonna come back. So what do you think brings that back? Is it ETH 2.0? Just a whole? What is it?
So I think, yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily convinced on E2.0 because of just all of these dope layer twos that are coming in, and even what Polygon's doing, like they're coming out with a better, a Stark-based version that's going to make things a lot, and even like a lot of the bumps, in my opinion, kind of within Zed and with the racing, like isn't necessarily Zed specific. Like it's trying to like this is revolutionary stuff, and so sometimes Polygon gets overloaded and it's outside of Zed's control. But so so yeah, I think the evolution around racing and what they've done with tournaments, like I've been very fortunate at least to see that the only way for this game to succeed has to be around racing, and basically to be buying horses that race very well is going to translate into breeding, which if you have a set of good racers, they're going to hold their value the way. So that was something I identified and was paying premium for, arguably too much of a premium. But yeah, I think RSB is he's one of the best horses in the game. So even if I got 3 or 4 wrong, I think he's gonna pay for the whole stable just in terms of breeding, because that's gonna carry down I think through the game.
What would you sell a horse like Ready Set Boom for? Because we saw Breathless Edge Z1 Racing Z1 sell for I believe 110 ETH. So would you sell for?
What was that?
A few months ago, they got bought by Perion Dao. Let me go look on OpenSea.
Was that like 100 on dollar values? Because I love ETH to death, but it's just so hard to track. Dollars. I could have swore it at least on OpenSea, I think I was like 4 of the top 10 sales. But yeah, I think Artois is a good recent comp, and yeah, I don't know, million plus. If somebody offered me that in these terms, I guess. But I'd rather sell other horses that are still good too, and keep the crown jewel, because to me it's it's the breeding kind of perpetual dividend.
And even like if you get these high stakes races, and you have a racehorse, maybe even at one distance, but even better at all distances. If this horse can race at this distance, and they have like $1 million race, you can compete. So you might as well, instead of just selling the horse, race it in that $1 million race.
Totally, and I've been very careful and cosmetic almost about not putting them in questionable distance preferences and stuff, and trying to kind of guard that perfect record in a way. But yeah, he can race in pretty much everything, and so can Hedge Fund, the other horse I have too, that is very he's pretty agnostic, or is very very left tilt in terms of a lot of those distances. So that's a mare, and then my stud is RSB. So having that sort of a centerpiece to be able to breed off of, I think is going to go well. And I hope, and sort of 10 years from now, looking back, I hope that's in every casino, right? And I hope we can go to Vegas or wherever, and in the win, and watch a big cash game or a big race. I love the tournament style. I love to see them sort of slow it down a little bit, and have each sort of round be a day, and bring up and have more excitement around the fact that somebody qualified, and build a narrative around a lot of these horses, because it's fun to watch, but it's a lot less fun when there's no context. It's a lot more fun when these horses have personalities, or the stables are arguing with one another, or whatever. Like make it entertaining, and yeah. So I hope it's a DAO governed project, and where in every casino, sort of replacing. If you've been to a casino and all of the what do they call like the satellite racing, or they have simulcast of of either some tape race or some race like in Florida, or in New York or something like that. Like I'd rather be able to go there and race against other stables in like live events and stuff, which in New York around the NFT now, they did an event up there just on unraced Z1s with and it was great. So I think the live involvement and continuing to build out the partnerships like they've done is going to be important.
Okay, I got two things for you. So I'll start with the DAO. What would you like a Zed Run DAO to look like?
I'm very much into that's where the whole world's going, in my opinion. But I think it's still a progression, right? And like I don't think a server full of Zed people arguing against each other about how certain things should be is necessarily the best route early on. Like I think that we need to sort of build the foundation and structure around what that looks like. And like I own, like I have a lot of capital in the game, and that's not to say that I should have necessarily more votes, but I've heard things, by people like Ryan just talking about an ELO or skill-based sort of vote around if your horse is one of the best games, it's bringing a lot of eyeballs and dollars, and is important to sort of have that be a voting system or a way to tilt it in a way, or anything. Like I think as long as that conversation is from the community with with the Zed team, I think that output is going to be better than is what's currently going on. And I think a lot of it's not necessarily their fault. I think it's crypto and NFTs, and just this whole growth has just been hyperbolic. And but I think the end run for this game to be what we all hope and know it's going to be, it's going to have to be the community, having a direct line to the team and being able to voice feedback and being able to, because at the end of the day, we're what the game is. And so, for better or for wrong, it's, if we think, the sky's red, then, the sky's red, I think. And because we're the ones putting the money up, and we're the ones racing and kind of making this whole community tick. So that's where I hope it goes.
How would your distribution of votes work out? Would it be that Genesis holders, you get X amount, let's say the DES token is the voting system, so they would have the most votes, or would it be ETH entered, like how much money you've spent on racing, how much money you spent on breeding? How would you like to see it?
So I think the best democratic way, I would think, and again, this is not my idea. I sort of stole this from a 10-minute conversation with Ryan because I was all fired up the day the announcement happened, and haven't yet followed back up with him. But he brought up just the ELO or skill base. So if you have a horse like Artois, costs less than 1 ETH, at a time where people like me spent 25 ETH for an unraised RSB, right? So and arbitrages are the best of finding value and finding these huge gems. Like they sold Milk Bar for 21, I think, 2 days ago, and then turned around and picked up Vanilla Bean, right? So they're the sharpest guys in the game right now. So I think people like that, or stables that know what's best for the game, because they're the ones racing all day and they're the ones doing that, and they're and they know the ins and outs, should have a louder voice than a guy that just picked up a Z40 and owns one horse and feels like he's got an opinion. And that's not to say that he doesn't have an opinion and shouldn't have a vote, but we want, and especially crypto and all the governance we're seeing project to project is how do we give votes not to the people that threw the most money at it, but the ones that are contributing the most, and the ones that are that care the most, the ones that are out there screaming from the rooftops supporting the project, and and are putting up time. Like, to me, it's more time and contribution should determine votes than dollars.
What do you think our timeline is on that?
It's never quick enough, that's for sure. But I hope, and I'd love to talk to anybody from the team or because they have a heck of a lot of capital and smart people behind it, from PCG and A16Z, two of the best in the venture world, of let's upgrade the website. Let's pick things up a little bit, because I think we are at the stage where we need to scale, and we need to start putting up, because I think other games are coming to market. And I think Zed's been around since longer, since December, right? And it's an OG project, and I think we're going to see that, and I think the best is certainly yet to come. I think all of the recent drama would hopefully be sorted out, and I think the community's reaction will certainly expedite that. And so in my opinion, I think like whether it's our governments or governments in general, or teams or communities, I think the more passionate and the louder communities are about things, I think the more things, the more change happens. So, and it's not necessarily like a malcontent or, it's just everyone's busy, and there's just a lot going on. And so, like at the end of the day, I don't have all the answers, but I just think having a more transparency from the team to the community on building whatever that's going to look like is going to be better than the team anticipating what they think the community is going to want, or vice versa, and everyone getting all upset.
Would you like a council of racers or something at that point, like people that would represent the larger community of Zed to talk to the team?
Yeah, I think that would be great, because I think also from Zed's point of view, basically walking into a loud room of everybody shouting and yelling at them about all these changes doesn't go anywhere, and anything. Like it just needs to be like, here's the changes that we think need to happen. Here's why. Here are examples of that proving that this is why this is a better decision. Here's our proposal. Nice to meet you. Love what you guys are doing. Check back in a week, right? And have it more X, Y, and Z versus it being super passionate and not resulting in anything. But obviously the team, they're the ones that created it, and they've built this, and I think in general, and it's not just that in all these games, it's trying to protect the game, the intellectual property, or what's coming up, and surprising the community, and also communicating, properly, I think. And it's not just them, but it'll get worked out. And I think the best way for that is just, that's what DAOs are, right? It's they're a transparent way for people to voice, make decisions, govern things, invest. It's definitely the new new LLC, that's for sure.
I like that. I like how you kind of touched on that. Yeah, we'll have people represent us, kind of get like a collective voice in Zed, instead of walking into everybody screaming about a change, have like one direct line to talk to them. But you did go ahead.
Totally.
Go ahead.
And a lot of it's too, it's just time, right? Because like I want it, like, again, I use Ryan because he knows more about the game than I'll ever know, and or like the guys at Arbitrage, or some of these people. Like, I want my votes to go with those guys because I trust that they're going to know what the right answer is, or whomever. But or if you have the time, like I want to pay people to delegate, or to be out there, promoting, just like any system or any politician. But like I think what's different with maybe our current system and how I want DAOs to be, it's like politicians in our current system need to be the users, need to be the consumers, need to be the ones, and part of us in those individual communities, versus just hired mercenaries talking about whatever that they want to talk about. And so like I think people that know the game, people that are invested in the game, people that want what's best for the game from the community point of view are the best people to be as ambassadors, right? And have a term, have it be voted or based upon have it merit based. And I'm a big believer in competing and creating games around it, and somebody that does X, Y, and Z, or hits a goal, becomes the delegate for a term. So those sort of things is where I hope it goes, for sure.
Yeah, that was a great comparisons with the politicians in the DAO, because I've always thought that this is where we're going, right? But it's always best to get it from the people instead of like representatives from the people. We're not in 1860s now where we got to send two people to Washington to represent us. Like, everybody's got a smartphone, and we got our own voice, right?
And like that's like a great example among any of just this old world trying to transition to this kind of new world. Like, and like whether it's in every situation, people have never been more more intelligent to whatever the specific is, right? Like if in Zillow, people know what their home value is I can pick up my phone and figure that out. So, it becomes challenging as a real estate agent to be able to charge that 6% when the buyer and seller have never been more informed, and they know what they want to buy and sell. All you need is just a peer-to-peer marketplace to match buyers and sellers. And so like I think the kind of the ownership community, or the ownership economy, or the Web3 movement, this whole move is just about aligning incentives, and like we see it a little bit with employee-owned companies. Like I know I can't think of the name, not Baird, but there's a financial service company that's employee-owned that from the world I come from, that was always really cool, because kind of, especially in banks, especially in in most traditional companies, it's very hierarchical, right? And even CEOs are McKinsey consultants, and are hired CEOs that may not actually be the guy that worked his way up from the bottom in the company, and it's like the mismatch between values and the leaders totally worked. And I think but back to just the more informed things, like to use a political example, like it's kind of cool what Europe does to just around the referendum, right? Like just go to a vote. Like everybody can pick up their smartphone and vote on things, like if they want to, or delegate it to people that that are more educated on the matter than you. And I think applying that to governance for DAOs is a helpful way to look at it, I think.
You think that's probably how we're going to run the world 30, 40 years from now? Maybe even sooner?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I think I come from the traditional investment, like looking at public companies, and like I'm releasing the white paper for our DAO that we're launching to, just an investment DAO. But just how the private market, private equity, venture capital, and how even public equity, just around management, executive boards, and the misaligned incentives around for public companies, just every quarter hitting their earnings per share targets, and like less about like actual metrics of the company, and like I just think we've gotten so far out of whack, and we have we now have I have my dog here too, by the way. It's never been a better time for crypto, for this whole technology to because this is the tools for us to kind of get from A to B, and we're still trying to drag this old world thinking, like the SEC trying to use 1930 law based upon securities that were relevant in 1930s to law today of DAO interests, right? Are those securities, or are they partnerships? And it's this giant clusterfuck, excuse my words.
But say whatever you want.
Everybody's just protecting their own interest, and nobody's really thinking creatively. And whether it's like going back to like the automobile mention, and there was actual governments building out the interstate system with taxpayer dollars to fund like the automobile time before it was horse and buggy. And you had the internet in the 90s. You had the safe harbor where there are, like, we know this technology is super interesting. We have no idea how to regulate it, but let's check back in 5 years and all come together and figure out how to regulate it. And today it's the opposite. It's because of Dodd-Frank, it's because of 2008. Like it's government, we have to control it, everything, and and apply these old rules, rather than like Coinbase, for example, got pounded with some injuncture, or they were and they've been the most active at trying to talk to the SEC and trying to come together. So it's just become interagency posturing, and less about actually using this tool so the U.S. can remain competitive, because to be honest, we're losing that edge. So yeah, like I think this is a huge pivotal moment too, just in our country, in terms of how we respond, because we can adapt or we can die, and I think what you're seeing now is never underestimate the strongest incentive a politician has is re-election, and so I think in the traditional world, you're seeing the movement of crypto. It was was in the infrastructure bill. It made a huge wave, and you're seeing politicians, that it's unpopular to be anti-crypto now. So I think, and I hate lobbies. I even honestly, I hate political parties because I just, for several reasons, I'm very much libertarian, but like all of this stuff just starts to sort of just go back to square one and kind of rethink kind of all of these things. And like we have technology, we have, a completely new system that needs to be rebuilt. And, some things government should be involved in, and maybe some things they shouldn't. And because, something like crypto is so global, right? Like I interact with people in Australia, in Asia, in Europe all the time. And like, there's no physical borders like in the old days, right? And like we're seeing it now with across the way supply chain issues and all this stuff where the world's going more global, it's not going less, but yet here we are in 2021, almost 2022, which feels weird saying, and it just seems like we're not adapted for like this new technology, but we'll see. Sorry, that was a mouthful. And
that was great. That was great. I love that. It's 100% true. This technology is going to advance one funeral at a time. There's some people in the old system that just won't accept it. Why? Because, well, they might know
that's
that
been going on for, but that's been going on forever, right?
Right,
yeah,
right.
And, and like I love to look back to, everybody knows the meme or whatever, just about like the internet during like, I think it was Good Morning America in like 1994, right?
Yep.
It's like the internet, it's like, what is that? And it's like, there's always going to be that. And if something's called a bubble, because it's probably a huge, crazy technology. Like things don't become bubbles for no reason. And to me, like investing in crypto was such a no-brainer in 2020. Also because we had the whole meltdown before from the ICO crisis, so everybody knew that it wasn't going to go up too, and you climb that wall of worry of just people being pushed in because it just keeps going up. And you're seeing that everywhere today. And even like, 6 months ago, Ethereum was still a joke. There was going to be Ethereum killers, right? Bitcoin was taking over the world. Everyone was a maxi. Like the top to me, I'll never forget it, was the day everybody changed their eyes to, to Bitcoin eyes, was like the last top. And so like, I just think the best advice I can give everybody is think differently, think for yourself, do your own research, and fully embrace this whole movement. Because if and even myself, like I wish I went to law school, or I wish I went to or knew how to code like very well, and I'm trying to pick up new skills that I know are going to be useful, just because this is definitely this genie's out of the bottle and you can't put it back in my opinion.
You open Pandora's box, right?
Well, yeah, and like the biggest thing that everyone says, in my opinion, is like is regulation, right? The government shut it down. It's like the time that they had to be able to do that was 10 years ago, and at this point, I think they're all realizing, and I don't know, I could go on a whole separate side tangent too, but just it's a huge, it's one of the most disruptive things I think since like the printing press. In terms of our society 20 years from now, 50 years from now.
Yeah, I heard someone say this is like the separation from church and state. This is the separation from like money and state, the government and money.
I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, totally. And like I think it'll be absurd looking back, that governments control money, because money is like it's a global human thing. There should be one like sort of there should be a world reserve currency that isn't owned by one's government, right? And whether it was Rome or whether it was these huge civilizations over time, it's there's evidence over and over again, and we've seen it play out over and over again. So, but never before have we had a system to actually have an alternative. And so, the ones that are adapting to the new game are the ones that are going to be the leaders of the new game. So.
I agree. That's why, like, I've heard Michael Saylor say that there's been plenty of forms of money. There's been hard money with gold that we've had for thousands of years, and then we came in with fiat money, with paper money redeemable for gold, cut it off of gold, and then we had debit and credit. And now it's interesting to see, if you really think about it, the newest form of money is the one accepting crypto. Visa and MasterCards are the one that like see like, okay, we've been the newest. We got to hop on the next trend if we want to stay alive, right?
That's been the best, probably too. Probably the best. Maybe Disney's up there too, but the best stock you could have owned. Like, and I also looked at like an old like there's a chart I have actually right here of just the 55 companies that remained since 1940. And like people forget the whole survivorship bias around all the companies that have died along the way. Sort of not embracing that too, but yeah. It's gonna be crazy. I lost my train of thought again.
It's all good.
Sorry, just about money and gold, right?
Or just like the newest forms of money accepting crypto. Like you see like Visa and credit
right.
and MasterCard.
So they were the first kind of payment network, right? And they have a monopoly basically around the debit interchange fees that they get on their ACH, and like they built that whole network, and the banks have been in on it. They're the sort of cartel, and they're the technology, and they're getting paid every transaction. They don't give a shit what bank or how. So they've disrupted that forever. So they've smart enough to be able to partner that, and Visa especially partner with USDC and Ethereum, like ERC20 based sort of payments. They were the first. That was validation along the way. Paul Tudor Jones investing back in July 2020 was a huge kind of pushing for me and validator. But yeah, like I think you've seen that, and all the other ones that are trying to fight against it, I think are either they're positioned in a way that they know they don't have an option, or they're going to absolutely die.
They keep pushing.
Like I love the Moneyball adapt or die quote because it's so true.
What is it? Go for it.
Or just like in the movie Moneyball, it's just just talking about the old way of doing things, and it's just like adapt or die, and it's true, and especially in this whole new world. But like I think in Saylor's case, to go back to Saylor on Bitcoin, it's like he was so right and has done so well, but he's been so wrong on the next iteration, like of smart contracts, of programmable money, of Ethereum, and like he's stuck on this one narrative that it's right, but like he's so dug in like he's the number one maxi or number two maxi in Bitcoin, and whether it's Pomp or whether it's all these people that have made their living in their personality being a maxi. Even if they know that that's not the right way to do it, they have to continue to sort of be that personality. So I worry that he's sort of drunk the Kool-Aid for so long that he can't really kind of get out of that. But there's going to be a day, I hope, where he comes out and has this whole aha moment, and I'm gonna get a nice chuckle out of it. But he's a guy that thinks differently, and I think the world, Elon Musk thought differently, and I thought that stock was overvalued in 2012, right? So it's Amazon, Bezos thought differently, and how he approached running a company and everything. So yeah, that's one thing that's just helped me along the way in terms of thinking. It's don't listen to people. Like don't follow experts. Like learn for yourself and then listen to experts, because I think most of the time people are usually wrong or selling stuff, and think differently.
Yeah, form your own opinion, but you can still learn a lot of great basic shit from Michael Saylor or any of these guys. Like they'll teach you about what Bitcoin is, the store value, all that shit, right?
But always ask why? And always always question anything you read, and then question and verify. And like that's one thing that I think, whether it's like not getting scammed or it's all around this, like crypto is so, it's technical and it's intense and it's this huge learning curve, and like I love to learn and I love to go down a rabbit hole, and like I get in trouble with big companies because I'm always asking why, and I have to understand the reasoning behind why a decision was made versus just like accepting it at face value and not really understanding the reason. So like I think everyone's always looking for shortcut, and if you're in this game for money, then you're not going to make it, and you have to love the hustle. You have to, to me, I get to do so many, wear so many hats in terms of thinking of, like,
He cut out. Let's see if we can get him back. He cut out. Damn. You back? Hello?
you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I'm on landline, so it shouldn't be me. But hopefully we're good now.
You were saying you wear many hats.
Oh, yeah, but just in terms of, like, I've always loved markets and investing just because it's a game that I get to play every day that I can't win, and I constantly know the score, and it's brutal. I think I'm a genius one moment, and then I think I'm an idiot, a moment later.
Right.
And if you have an ego, you're gonna die. And to me, it's just about the act of learning, and to be able to talk to all these crazy, interesting people. Like, I remember the biggest fear I had of kind of leaving my old job, and it's scary, and I don't recommend it to everybody. But of jumping into a community, like, I think I had like 100 followers, and like, I'm very much an introvert, even though, like, I could talk all day about shit that I'm passionate about. But like, at parties, like, I chit chat, like, I'm just not very good at it, or it's just not what interests me. So yeah, like, it's, yeah, that, that curiosity, but also just to be able to, I'm very much a generalist. Like, I know a little bit about a lot, and like, I try to learn things in first principles, and just, like, I live on Wikipedia. Like, that's like my jam, and I'll go down rabbit holes and, like, clicking links and then going down that, and then and always trying to learn, like, where the history of something, and understanding that stuff too. So
I love that.
I don't sleep a lot. Let's put it that way.
Going back into Zed Run a little bit, you said that you were a part of this New York Z1 race. How did you become a part of that, and what was that like to be in a bar full of a bunch of other Zed fans screaming their heads off for digital horses?
I brought that up, and I knew I shouldn't have, because it was something that I was in New York, but it was the same night as Ape Fest. So I was in Brooklyn at a party, but my intent was to be there, and I couldn't make it over there, but I was part of it, and we contributed Captain Trippy did actually contributed an unraced Z1, and it was a lot of fun. But like, I think, back to Bored Apes, and I'll circle back into Zed, but to use that as, like, the community example, like, the differentiating factor and what I was, like, the it moment too, is just these, like, the need to want to meet up with other people in the community and do events, right? So, like, I live in South Florida, and if people are in the Zed Run community and want to go grab a drink at a bar, like, let's do it, or, like, let's go, but like, to be able to have an organized event, to be able to watch a race and interact, in live, back to sort of the theme that I spoke about a little bit earlier, it is the next level, and what I hope this becomes, right?
Yeah.
Like, the way we see too with, like with e-gaming, and like, how parabolic that growth's been too. Like, people play video games all day, and like, I think this is just a natural progression there.
And it's global too, right? You have players from all over the world in this game.
And like, I feel like a lot of the people that came in NFTs came from Top Shots, and our DFS, daily fantasy sports people, or let's be honest, just DGen gamblers that love the action. And this whole wave of people from into crypto was from the whole Robinhood WSB movement. And instead of buying fucking shit AMC and garbage companies that should go to zero, like, actually buying tokens that that are really useful, and like Ethereum, and like, I just remember that whole phase in, and like it was so the intent was fucking dope, and you know it was so it's everything about crypto, but it's like in the wrong medium. And like the day that they shut down AMC, or they shut down a few of the stocks, was like I'm like game over, because you know, do you want to play a game where they can change the rules, or do you want to play a game where you know there are no rules, for better or for worse. But you know, like that's also what I love about it, is it's raw, like just everything crypto and everything else. It's like if you get scammed, it's like there's no 1-800 number to call, and so you got to be on your game. And you know, I spend $100,000 a year probably in gas fees, and so it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
No, I agree, and I love that, because I was in like, I first really took investing. I never really liked the stock market, or I never really invested in the stock market, and then this fucking Wall Street bet stuff comes around, and I'm like, all right, what's the deal here? But then I recognized that this was like a once in a lifetime event to be able to hop into, so I hopped into AMC and GME. But yeah, once you realize, you're like, okay, it's only set hours. They can stop my trading and all this shit. You're like, why would I even do this? I'd much rather go NFTs or something, which is 24/7. You can talk to a community. It's all day, right? Not set in stone and ran by humans.
But like, and that was, you know, and even back in 2017, or yeah, 2017, this is from the top. It was real time 24/7 markets, like as they should be, like what futures are too. Like the fact that futures close on the weekend still, and like you see all these, you know, these block points, or you know, from the old system and the new system, of where like crypto is 24/7, but yet the only regulated exchange that allow us to trade crypto from an institutional standpoint is CME, right? Which is, you know, futures based, which closes a Friday. Which I don't know if you guys, well, like the whole dip we had on last week on Friday happens, and like there's all these traders that'll play game in terms of when CME closes at Friday at like 6, there's no liquidity, because all of the traditional TradeFi markets close, and then there's pockets in like the order books from, you know, markets like FTX or Coinbase or whatever. And so big traders will come in and they'll just push the market down and just set off stops, and then just liquidate fucking everybody, and then bring the market all the way back up the next day. And like I'm sitting here watching it, and I've tweeted about it, and nobody, like all of my alpha tweets, no one actually likes, but like all of my pump up tweets, everybody loves. But yeah, so like I've learned very quickly, one of the best predictor of when things get overvalued is just watching the leverage. And then like anytime there's people like borrowing to bet against something, like even if they're right, they're going to be wrong, because the market's just going to chop them out. And you know, like leverage is the worst thing anybody can do in this game. Like I do it, like I have loans in my NFTs, like just because I want liquidity and I'm a fucking degen. But like, just don't do it. Like, just don't borrow against anything. Like, it's the worst. But yeah, so yeah, like I think futures and all that stuff, and like it's absurd. You know, that being said, open 24/7 and making a living off this is insane. But yeah, like from a function standpoint, it's so absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absurd still to like get a loan against your house, to like how long that takes, right? Or just traditional, like still on Coinbase, like if I want to buy stuff from my checking account and I don't want to put it on a debit card, and either way I'm going to get fees, but it still takes 3 to 5 days to settle. Like like even in stocks today, if I buy a stock, you know, in your, like on your Robinhood or whatever, like it's T+3, which means like in the old days, they used to have to physically mail a stock certificate by mail, which it took 3 days to get to, you know, the clearinghouse, which then goes to the brokerage and then go to the customer. And like we're still using those laws today, when like literally it's instantly settled electronically. It has been since, you know, 2000, right? So it's like it's just so frustrating for me too. But yeah, I think we finally have the tools to get there.
I agree. Last few questions for you, man. If I gave you half an ETH to start your stable today, what would you get in Zed Run and why?
Half an ETH. Oh man. I don't know the low cap market that well, to be honest with you. And but I will say like the premium between Z1 Genesis Nakamoto's right now for reasons not just to like, in my opinion, there's going to be a DAO, there's going to be a token, right? And they've said from the beginning that Genesis are going to have a huge advantage, and whether it's from racing or whether it's from everything else, like in my opinion, I think it's going to be huge for the tokens too as well. So, like I think I'm trying to get rid of a rare coat Z1 Genesis, and I can't get rid of it for 8.5 ETH. And these things were selling for 21, 22 a couple months ago, and even like from the top down in quality are just getting compressed, whereas the low value stuff is sort of pulling everything down. Whereas I think over time there's tons of gems between in just Z2's legendaries too, and like as close to the original Z1s that you can get in value. Like I think you should be spending money now, and spending a half an ETH or spending 1.5 ETH on 20 racehorses that are Z5, Zavos or whatever. Like maybe you hit one and maybe it does well, but I'd rather see you like in everything in crypto. People ask like what can I buy with 0.1 ETH? It's like just save until you get 1 ETH and then play the game, right? Or always try to save to get into the high quality stuff versus trying to find the next whatever, right? That's like the funks, right? Versus buying a punk. Like I think in that case, like it's probably a bad example because I think people have probably made a bunch of money off it, but more often than not, those examples like don't work out. And I'm thinking of 2 examples recently that contradict the statement, but to be able to don't spend half of the same amount of the dollar value for a low quality stable. And I'd rather see you get 2 horses and have them be much higher value, higher quality horses. So I don't know if that answered the question.
No, that's good.
Specifically, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't really like what genre specific, but I like the general idea of what you gave. Is like I think the distribution of value when I came into the market was so tilted towards 30 ETH, 25 ETH, and then the low in the market. Like I think that's compressed a tremendous amount. Mm-hmm.
So like you can get a lot of value in that first quartile, of really good horses for people like especially since the whole news came out with of them changing the algorithm of the rules or whatever. Like I've never had more people try to dump their entire stable like ever, and like if I had the ETH, I would have bought them all, or if I didn't have plans that will be announced in a couple weeks, then of spending more money in this game, then I would be spending more money. So you could probably find some people that are overreacting, and you can spend that 0.5 ETH on a decent stable. That'd be my recommendation. Otherwise, if you're gonna sell, don't sell now. Like it's like at least wait for some incentive to turn around,
right?
Or sell to me. But at least when I have more ETH. But no, and I think sort of the next prediction of what we're going to start seeing is just consolidation too. I think in stables, and start to see some stables merging, and because I think the opportunities in breeding with really good horses and having a cooperative sorts of breeding would be interesting. So those sort of sub community things I think will be cool, and I hope to see soon.
Yeah, I love that. You're gonna get what you pay for. If you come in and buy some cheap shit, you'll have fun for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. You'll lose a bunch of races and quit the game. Totally. If you come in, you spend the proper amount of money, maybe get just 1 racehorse, but you win, the game will be fun, and you'll stick around and maybe come and get another horse, right?
But it comes back to community too. So it's like it's quality and community, which community determines quality. So if you go in and you buy with the community, like no disrespect against whatever D-Race or whatever the other horse racing community, they have a lot of a big hill to climb to be able to build a community like Zed's and so on. So to me, best advice I can give: find a community you dig and that you vibe with, and and find smart people that you think are good and follow whatever they do. Just front run them or front run me. That's also a good strategy.
if I gave you the keys to Zed Run, you could change one thing. You could bring back odds, take away flames, take away fatigue, add set races, do whatever you want. Change one thing. What would you change in Zed Run?
Open a system for people to open a line of communication between the community and the team. So everything is not top secret, because so everybody, there can't be enough transparency. So I think the more open you are on both sides, and the better the community will be able to put in Zed Run that they want, right? Like, I don't have the answers for that, and whatever answer I give you is going to be self-serving for my stable. So I think the community knows best for the game, because we love it and we're the ones putting our money up. So to have a direct line of communication would be the best thing that I think Zed could do.
Awesome. And then pick one horse. You have unlimited budget. You can buy any horse. The seller's willing to sell it, or the owner's willing to sell it. What horse would you buy and why?
I would buy. I'll change that answer to, I would buy a team of operators that can turn a stable of 0.5 ETH into 25, 30 ETH. So to me, it's not the horse, it's not the tool, it's the operator. And so these horses are tools. But to me, I think RSB is one of the dopest horses. That I think Rendezvous Peak, Vanilla Bean, all of the what WagMe just came in and bought like every major horse. So he's another giga whale coming in. So I don't know. I can't see specifics. Also because I forget and I smoke too much weed. But yeah, my answer is ready, set, boom. How about that?
I love that. I love when people come on here and say their own horse, because I do the same thing as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, I love Zed. It's super fun. It's a great community. So I'll be here for a while.
Sweet. And then last question for you: what is the Trippy Dao?
That is white papers. It'll be out in a couple of days. Finally got a legal team on, but it's going to be a venture fund, essentially, a venture DAO. Trying to work out a way on and off chain to be able to do it. Compliance. I mean, this should have been done 6 months ago, and finally got everything going. But it started as a server, and now we're finally kind of turning into an investment fund. So we get a lot of deals, and we have a lot of kind of brain share and a lot of social and financial capital, and we want to put our money where our mouth is. We have the expertise, and it's time to do it. So there'll be news coming out soon.
And then where can we read this white paper at and contact you at?
It'll be on Twitter, and you can follow me, King Trippy 5116, and all that information will be there. And just follow me, or Captain Trippy, another good one.
Sweet, man. You got any questions for me, bro?
No, this is great. Great questions. I'm impressed just with your general crypto knowledge, and you can definitely pull me a bunch of ways, so I can talk all day. But this is fun. Happy to be back anytime you want me.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm excited to see what you do with the Trippy DAO, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Have a good one.
Later.